Well, all roads are leading to Eldoret, Uasin Gishu County for the 10th Devolution Conference. 10 years on, what are the benefits and what are the misgivings of the devolution? That is what the conference will entail from the 15th to the 19th of this month. Welcome to the show. My name is Abdiaziz Hashim, and of course we have that and so much more. We also have our team stationed at the City of Champions to bring you the latest from their respective ends, from interviews with devolved leaders as well as governance experts into that particular retrospect. Of course, over 10,000 delegates are expected to attend that particular conference that will run for the next 4 days. As is the custom, President William Ruto will open that particular conference with his maiden speech, and of course we'll have our reporters not just stationed in Eldoret but in various parts of the country, bringing us up to speed with what is happening from their respective devolved units. Let me get to introduce my guest this particular morning. I do have Dr. Churchill Saoke, a governance expert. Churchill, good to have you once more.
Good morning.
And on his immediate left is Millie Luanga, a lawyer and a governance expert as well. Welcome to the show, Millie.
Thank you very much.
And of course, on the far end is Newton Ogada, a political analyst. Karibu sana, Newton.
Thank you.
And of course, you can join in the conversation, our dear viewers. We are asking you what development has devolution brought to your county? What development has devolution brought to your county? You can hit us up on our social media at KBC Channel 1, at Abdiaziz Hashim 1. Of course, we'll be sampling some of your views. That is the question of the day. What development has devolution brought to your county? Hit us up on our social media platforms at KBC Channel 1 as well as Abdiaziz Hashim. That particular question, I want to place it to our guests. Let me start with Newton. Newton, a simpler question. What development has devolution brought to your devolved unit?
Oh, first of all, let me say I have to thank those who thought it was wise to decentralize the government. You know, before we were only looking into the national government, but nowadays we have seen a lot of things happening in our counties, like in Homa Bay County, with our
Maybe Newton, which county do you hail from?
I'm coming from Homa Bay County.
Yes.
So our county, we are really doing good with the devolution. I've seen a lot of changes when it comes to even roads, water, health, this ECD. We're doing really good with the new governor. So I can say it was the wise idea to be implemented. And I'm happy with the 2010 constitution.
Okay.
It brings us a lot of things happening in the counties. Yeah.
Luanga, which county do you hail from and what developments have you seen so far?
I identify with 4 counties.
Okay.
The beauty of being a woman is that I can.
Yeah.
I identify with Nairobi because I spend a good percentage of my time here. I identify with Siaya County because my parents are there.
Okay.
I identify with Kisumu County because that's where my children are.
Okay.
And I identify with Machakos County because that's where my offices are. Now, I think that one of the things that I have seen in this is now the 3rd round of county governments that we have, is it is clear that we can only blame ourselves where we can see that there's lack of substantial development that we can see. You can remember, if I start with Machakos County, the former governor, Mtua, was one of the ones who was very good at PR. So he was covered, he would unleash small vehicles and it was covered and everybody would see that this is the governor that is really working. But of course, most of the work that he did was superficial, I may say. He did not go deep down into the rural parts of the county. And now, hopefully, with this current government, we see that going down.
Okay.
In Siaya, we blundered the first
maybe what
2 rounds.
What the developments have you seen?
Yes, the first 2 rounds, but now we have seen that with the current government that has come in, you can see that there's some attempts to bring progress into the county. It is still slow because he spent a lot of work trying to audit, but there's hope. You can feel the hope on the ground.
Okay.
Kisumu has largely developed. I think it is not just people who live there and work there or who identify with it that can see that Kisumu was developed, but everybody has seen that the efforts that have been made by the governor in the last couple of years, I've seen the cleanliness levels, a lot of progress being made. We also have the market that unfortunately is not being used, but it is there. And we have, of course, Nairobi County, where we can see very little development, but we hope that it's going to come.
Okay, Churchill, what developments have you seen in your county?
There's a lot of development in Nairobi County.
Yes,
yes, I think it's important to appreciate that the counties have become new units for development.
Yes.
And as a result, there has been now a lot of focus of not just government, government funds getting down into the grassroots, into the counties, but also even development partners seeking to want to partner. The development partners have also gotten alternative mechanisms of pushing development in the country beyond just engaging national government. So, when you go into communities, you will be able to see new schools or ECDs being developed by the county governments. You'll see people who have been employed by county governments, and even mansions emerging from those who are doing businesses with the counties. Previously you could see that if you could not be able to access opportunities from the central government, then there is no other. But now the counties have offered an alternative for people to get opportunities at the grassroots. Yeah.
Newton, picking up from where Churchill has left it, is talking about the resources now being devolved at the 47 counties. Has this helped devolution to reach where it is now?
Yes, this has helped devolution to reach where it is. And I may say not all governors had the good time to give proper governance. But if it could be so, then this country will be the best country, I think, all over Africa. But even though we are in the devolution government, system of government, we are still lacking good governance. I think being it is our 10th year, it's only 2 terms in the office, many governors did not understand what it means to be in devolution. But I think I've seen in my county, Homa Bay, we are in the timeline that we now understand what it takes to be a governor and to govern the county resources. So it's going to help the counties. What I'm just crying of is just the governance. If the governance will be proper, we can see the healthcare actually is doing good in my county. I see my governor is building hospitals, is renovating, bringing new equipment. Even if you go back to the roads, he's actually managing roads, because when we are talking about devolved function, we talked, it is a general thing that even business-wise, we have our local people who are selling their crops to different market. So if they have a good road system, then we work together to build our counties. So it actually is a wise idea, and I really supported it, and we thank God for it. Yeah.
Milik, with the governance aspect in mind, we've seen governors numerously, especially the Council of Governors, Anne Waiguru there, the Kirinyaga governor, coming out saying there's late disbursement of resources to the devolved units. If that is taken care of, do you think counties now will take it a notch higher when it comes to devolution?
I doubt. And the reason why I say that is because we still have the same story of a larger percentage of the funds that are devolved going towards meeting running expenses. Administrative costs remain high. I think we've noted that most of the governors started by doing audits, and a lot of them have come out with reports saying that they are ghost workers. It remains very frustrating that much as resources were supposed to have been devolved to the county level, and a lot of people rushed to go and do business at the county level, that every new government that comes in does not want to pay the debts that were carried on, because they say that there was no clear procedure. So it seems that the governance structures that were supposed to have been instituted, that we hope that the transition authority had helped the county government to begin to develop, so that they would make sure that procurement is done on point, because if procurement is on point, then nobody would question, even if they bring a new government today, the procurement process would have been fine, and therefore it will just be a matter of paying once the payment is effected from the national level. So I think that some of these teething problems that we saw at the commencement of devolution still subsist to date. And that is still very frustrating. We have still not had, and the politics of the day does not make it easy for the governors to try and lay off the so-called ghost workers. When I said I'm not seeing much development in Nairobi, for example, we expect the markets in Nairobi to be clean, working, operational, you know, at the very best, because we have a working county government. We don't hear that Ukulima market is any better than it has been all that time. We don't hear that garbage collection and disposal of garbages has improved much. So these are some of the things, the services that we expect improvement from, and that if the governance structures remains frustrated so that it remains opaque, and there are still questions as to what processes can be put in place to allow resources to be used smoothly, then we'll still face the problem. Yes.
Churchill, Millie was talking even about what Gideon Mungaro was alluding to a little bit earlier with our reporter Chola Simon. When it comes to the pending bills, most of the governors, since they took up office, they have been complaining about systems of checks and balances, confirming if the services were rendered or not. How should those governors go about it, given that there are true people who rendered services to the county, yet they are not paid till to date?
Thanks, Abdi. I think let me first emphasize something that my colleague Millie has mentioned about ghost workers, and I think these are bureaucratic things that really needed to be handled for devolution to move forward, because you find that every governor, like when you look at the first devolution election, that, you know, from 2013 to 2017, you know, the governors came with their personnel. Then after 2017, the governors who were not re-elected and the newer governors who came, they also wanted to bring our newer personnel who were duplicating roles of existing civil service. So I think the appreciation of the county government and those who are being elected, appreciating that they are coming into office and they'll find an existing civil service that they need to work with, has not really been adopted. And that has really resulted into an increase in wage bill. So it's something that if it is not checked, we are still likely to see people getting, you know, we still are likely to see counties getting into huger bills and even spending more money into recurrent expenditure. On to your question about the issues around pending bills, you know, there's something that I have seen. Remember when devolution was coming, there were people who really didn't believe in devolution. And we must appreciate that even today, there are people who still believe in centralism of resources. And we are at the point where we are fighting the need for services to be centralized. And you are fighting against forces who believe that these services need to be centralized. So there seem to be an apparent move by centralist thinking to try to frustrate devolution using systems at the national level. So in as much as they might mean well for the sake of bringing accountability and integrity in the use of resources, but the efficiency speaks otherwise. So the counties end up feeling frustrated, bill spending, not because there is no money, but because of interest at the national level. And I think that if we wanted to move forward in making devolution become efficient, in as much as we put systems of checks and balances and accountability frameworks for the counties, we also need to be genuine in making the systems more efficient for these counties to operate. Otherwise, we will end up frustrating their efforts, impeding on their services, to an extent that on the eyes and on the faces of the public, we will be seeing them as not performing. Then in the long run, strategically, the public will now want some of these services to be brought back at the national level.
Okay.
Then we would have now been negating the very reason why we needed devolution. Yeah.
Sure.
Maybe Newton, from the service perspective, people were joyous. The ideology behind the devolution itself was to bring services to your doorstep at the devolved units. What can also be done to even heighten the service delivery within the devolved units with the devolution in mind?
I think, as the way my brother put it, we're still having some fight in the national government. Not for everybody, but you remember, or you know very well, that in the same national government, there are people who opposed the 2010 constitution, and you know that. And now they're the people who are now implementing, or they are there to give resources to the county. Number one, we might not do what we think should be done through devolution. Reason, when the money does not come from the national government, the county money will not be enough to run the county government issues. Like for now, if you look into I don't want to go that way because it was not the matter, but if you go into the financial bill which was passed, now it is an act, push the county government to the wall. Reason, you may find, like me, I'm running some businesses and I'm working with an NGO. You will find I'm paying taxes almost 5 times. When you run a business in the county, you have to pay tax to the county because you're running business there. And the same business, you pay tax to the national government to send money to the same county. And the same you as an employer, you have to pay the whatever percentage that is needed for the housing to those you employ, and they have to be deducted too. So if you look into this is not going to help the county to run its or her programs. And again, my brother talked about the overemployment. We still have what we call the political goodwill. We have those who supported the system, those who are working in maybe governor or ward reps or what have you. They want to cover everybody into the same budget. So that's why you will find we still have ghost workers in the counties, and it is not possible for them to remove them because they still want to seek their seats back come to another general election. But if we can have proper governance and we forget about who supported me and what can I reward, then we are going to have the best counties in this country. But if we're still looking on even how our political leaders sometimes argue in funerals and the terms that they're using, that like this, I'm not one-sided, but I'm talking in general. If somebody said it is our company, those who did this will get this. This will come back to the county, that if you did not support the ruling regime, then you cannot be given something to do or to supply. And he mentioned something about those who may be supply counties have never been paid for 2 years. And we have been having every financial year, there's a budget coming and there's a budget closing, right? We still don't understand why, if you are a good manager, you can do budget more than your expectation. Because that is what can bring pending bills. If you have a budget of 1 billion, but you did things or you welcome suppliers to supply things worth 2 billion, my friend, you must have a pending bill. And this brought a lot of issues to the incoming, those who are elected newly. Like, for example, if I talked about my county, Gladys Wanga is this is her first time, and first term in that office. But if you can sit with her down, he got a lot of pending bills, which even if you are going to be given this money, somehow we may not finish paying them. And our senators have not even taken chance of questioning the first governors and the first regime to bring back the money which was stolen. Because before 2010 constitution, there was nothing happening in the counties, right?
Yes.
And we know the ministers who were there, the councillors, they were having nothing. But if you come after 10 years, If you are being elected a member of county assembly, automatically you are rich. If you are just a minister of a county, automatically you are going to own an hotel or an industry or something. But if we have never seen this being questioned for 10 years of work, 5 years in the office, how did you manage to collect all these funds? Which means these are the pending bills, and individuals are having them in their own capacity. So my message to us, because we are talking in general, we need to find a way of how we can manage our governance, and those who are in the national government who are still in the other past constitution, they should wake up and say it is now we are in a new constitution which leads us to devolve government. So that we have to produce, we have to give, we have to release the money. Because I saw the governors were crying a few months ago that they have never received the money going to their counties. And they have the bills and the pending bills to pay. And again...
Which the president sorted out.
Yes.
Them over billions.
He did, yeah. He sent the money down there. But this money again, we used them to the pending bills which were from the other government. So what I can advise in this is just, can we be transparent to our country so that we can give good governance to our common people? Just before I finish, you know, you cannot be a governor or a senator or a member of county assembly without going through election, which means the people must choose you and elect you to go and govern their money. These are our taxes.
Yes.
And then when you get in there, you forget about a reason why you have been given the sovereign power to lead. But you only look on what can I do to benefit myself to be the richest person as the former minister. You know. So in my conclusion, the best we can do is just to talk deeply as Kenyans and for the understanding of we are in a new government system that we have to accept it, whether we like it or we don't like it, it's what is happening, and we must use our finances rightly. Let's talk about what my sister said here, publicity. When you do a lot of publicity, the time will come that when somebody will come to the office, we'll find nothing to show. Like my former government, Honorable or His Excellency Aweti, people said it did not work. I may not agree with that, because it is when we are seeing he did some few works, because the Gladys Wanga, who is now the governor, she has not done nothing because they received the money recently. But what she has been finishing, he did some good finish. Aweti did a lot in our county. He did a lot of hospital buildings. The problem he did not finish and launch them. Right? So we have many people who are doing a lot of publicity, like my sister said, is Kivuta or something?
No, Mutua.
Mutua. He was doing a lot of publicity. To me, I was like, if I have to vote today, I have to go and vote Mutua. Because I was seeing a lot of things in the Facebook, in the social media. But now when the new governor came in, he has nothing to show. She has completely nothing to show. She has to start from zero. If you come to Homa Bay, I will read a lot. He built even some hospitals. I've seen my able governor is finishing them and launching them. He did what he could have done by the time. Even though it was not 100% done, but at least he did something. So it was not good in publicity, but he was doing some work underground. Yeah.
Maybe let me come to Millie. In a nutshell, what Newton is saying, have we devolved corruption, and how can we address that?
I think that it is true that corruption has been devolved. I think that it is no secret in Kenya when people say that, well, so long as it's our person, let him eat. After all, it is our turn to eat now at this local level. But I think the reason why we see that is that the checks and balances that are anticipated to ensure that governance is properly accountable to the people that put it in place are failing. Take an example of the current devolution conference that is going on. Look at the speakers. There is no day that has been dedicated to the structures that are supposed to check governance. I know that they have brought in senators.
Yes, on the program, they'll also have the office of registrar. They will also have the CRA, the Control of Budget, and the Auditor General.
What about the MCAs?
Yes, and the ward representatives will also be there.
They don't have the MCAs from the program I saw, unless it's changed. Anyway.
In the 4 days, they will have their day.
So if they dedicated a day to having the people who are supposed to check them come and speak to them and tell them where the problem is, a day where they would have civil society organizations that they work with within their areas coming to tell them where the problem is so that they can improve and move ahead better, it would be better. But remember that what has happened in Kenya is that when governments come into place, they want to subdue the checks and balances system. We have seen governors coming in and immediately they'll approve money for MCAs to go benchmarking in Israel and everywhere, you know. They'll approve money for MCAs to be able to meet outside the county so that they can get allowances and be able to be happy. We have seen the fights between the governors and the MCAs intensifying to such an extent that some governors, look at the Meru governors, could not work because you are politicking every day and defending your turf to the extent that you cannot work. Now, if these checks and balances were respected by the governors, first and foremost to speak of, we know that there's frustrations coming from the national government, and thankfully there's been an attempt, as far as we are told, to try and address it. That is release of funds within time. Now, that is from the national government. We know that there have been some frustrations in as far as the systems that have been put in place that would allow them to procure, how smoothly they would run, so that they're able to procure and conclude their processes very fast. We know there's been some frustration in as far as the audit reports that are coming, so that they're able to work with current figures and with realistic information as far as auditing is concerned, because that would help them be able to work from a realistic perspective. But the governors themselves must also inculcate a culture of respecting and responding to the structures that have been put in place at the county level that are meant to check them so that we can be sure that things work properly. Look at health, which is a key factor, a key issue, a key service that has been devolved. We have had doctors over the last 10 years and still to date saying, take us back to the national level. It's not working at the county level. We have seen governors not being clear with the payment structures or the working conditions or how they will relate with doctors, including even the ethnic composition of the doctors who are expected to work there. That is frustrating health as a right which has been devolved. We have seen ECD, which has been frustrated. Governor Wanga, that he has mentioned, being one of them, who had problems with the ECD teachers at the start of her term because of her quick implementation of the SRC guidelines, while other counties were not implementing those guidelines. And it took a long time. She at least tried to resolve it, and there was some mediation and some talks going on with the ECD teachers. These are still issues that are teething. There are problems. We've had ECD teachers being frustrated, and yet we know that if you don't have a good foundation for children at that level, even with the CBC, no matter how good it is, it will just be extra work for teachers at that level. So governors must also be able to embrace and work hard to strengthen those processes that are meant to help them check their governance structures, because at the end of the day, if they are accountable to the people, they'll be voted back in very easily.
Okay. Churchill, it has just been 10 years. It was incepted in 2013. Are we judging it harshly, or should we give it time?
I think we are judging it correct, however harsh it may be, because one, people have high expectations.
Yes.
People need services to be devolved. People need this to work perfectly, and because it is the best way for us to have equitable development across the country. And as I have said before, democracies out there, advanced democracies out there, have been able to perfect their devolved systems of governance, and it is working. So our harsh criticism of our devolution is right, because we want to give it a laser some sort of like, laser criticism to make it work, to make it perfect, to give better ways of making, advancing it to the next level. Because if we give it, if we don't become harsh to them, they'll become, they'll not want to make efforts, right? they'll not want to make efforts, even including if there's need even to make certain constitutional changes to make it better. Why not? Because generations will look up to a better devolved units for the better of this country. We will not want a scenario where we are going back to cases where if you know the president is when you get opportunities. We need to go to points where we don't care who is the president of the republic, because we can get the services when we need them, how we need them, as long as we deserve.
Hold that thought on constitutional reforms. I'll be coming back to you. Of course, I want to go now live to the epicenter of the 10th Devolution Conference. I do understand my colleague Wycliffe Okech is on the other side. Of course, the City of Champions is playing host to the Devolution Conference. Wycliffe, good morning. What can you tell us about the Devolution Conference? Is all systems go?
Well, thank you so much, Abdiaziz. Back in Nairobi, it is all systems go, like you put it. I believe you can see in the background, you can see the organizers are just, those people charged with preparing the event here are now just doing the final touches in terms of seating arrangements, in terms of marking the seats, and also setting that stage actually for the big event that starts officially tomorrow. And the event will start by, it's President William Ruto who will be opening this conference that will be running all through to 18th. Today being the registration day, actually what's happening today is that the delegates are arriving for registration, and maybe after registration they are issued with tags, of course. After that, as we wait for tomorrow, that will be the official opening of this conference. Right where we are, this is the main conference hall, actually, like you can see behind me here. Just the final touches, like I've mentioned, all the decorations have been made, the lighting power, the seats arrangement, the lighting. These people just ensuring that the hall is actually ready for the main event. This is the main hall, yes, but then on the sideways, either side of this hall, there are other halls, of course, for the breakaway sessions. You know that we are talking about devolution, 10 years of devolution, with the theme being looking at the present and the future. And of course, beside that, there are other sub-themes that the delegates, the more than 10,000 expected delegates at this conference will be looking into. One of them being the agriculture, second being the digital economy. Now you see we are living at the digital age, and the digital economy will be manifesting, of course, featuring in this conference predominantly. And we, KBC, we are already on the ground, like you've already seen earlier on. We came to you live with the governor of Kilifi, that is Governor Mungara, actually telling us what's happening in Kilifi in terms of devolution. That is not just the first of the many conversations we will be having throughout this conference that we'll be having from tomorrow all through to 18th. Like I've mentioned, right now the preparations is optimal height. Today, what's going to happen is that we're going to have pre-conference activities. All that is happening at the Kipchoge Keino Stadium.
Okay,
such activities include ball games, that is the football, athletics, of course, and also a tug of war, just to set the mood and get people into the mood of waiting as this devolution kicks on. Right now, as we leave here, we're going to Kipchoge Keino also to talk to the residents. What do they expect from this conference? Also, the leaders that have arrived, we are going to talk to them. What are their insights? What do they think about 10 years of devolution? What do they think about the hits and the misses? All that will come to our viewers in the subsequent bulletins. And of course, we'll be coming to you live. In the course of this interview conference. Well, we'll stand by, and of course, we're going to monitor everything, of course, and update our viewers appropriately. Unless you have a question for me, Abdiaziz?
Yes, I do have a question for you. Given that we saw Mungaro earlier with Achola Simon, I'm sure there are various devolved heads around that particular venue. Have you tried to gauge their expectation of what they are supposed to capture from this particular 10th Devolution Conference?
Come again?
I'm asking you, we do understand that there are some governors already arriving at the Devolution Conference Hall itself. Have you been able to speak to some of them, and what are their expectations?
Well, that is what I'm saying, that that was just one, the interview with the Governor Mungaro. That is just one of the many interviews that we are having today. Of course, Governor Mungaro was the first one. Right now, I'm going to speak with the Senator of Laikipia, that is Matinga. Of course, is the one we are waiting for here, also to give us his insight about the devolution. Has it worked? He's a senator, and the Senate is also charged with the oversight role of looking at the expenditure at the county levels. Well, the delegates are arriving, and of course, every time we spot a governor, the senator, or the other delegate that is concerned with the devolution here, we'll pick his insight and their insight, of course, and the opinion and the expectation, of course, and we'll capture that and share with our viewers in a timely manner. Abdiaziz.
Thank you so much. That is our reporter weekly for Ketch in Uasin Gishu County, the epicenter of where the 10th Devolution Conference is currently going to be held for the next 4 days or so. Also, our reporter Chola Simon, and of course we do understand Kamche Menza will also be at the Devolution Conference, bringing us up to speed with what is happening there. We do understand that a number of delegates are starting to stream in into the hall, and of course the president will open officially the 10th Devolution Conference. Let me rope in my guest once more, since that they have seen the hall is ready. They're all waiting for the official start of the convention itself. But earlier we were talking about some constitutional reforms. Let me start with you, Newton. Maybe constitutional reforms in what essence should we start incorporating in the county funds? Because that is what the governors have been clamoring for the last 10 years. Should we introduce that element of the county funds so as to be independent from the national government itself?
I think that will be the best idea to help the county government. But before we go to that, I will advise the governors first to show the commitments of running this government with proper governance. Because even if you do change the constitution today, and they are still the same people who came from the national. You know, there's something funny in our country. Those who are in the national government recently are the same people who now are representing us as our governors and our deputy governors and our ward reps from the county government. So they're the same people. There's nothing changed there. I think 90% of those who are being elected as governors, most of them were MPs here, most of them were senators here. So they're just trying to interchange the officers. So they know what they should do right to make things work better for the common mwananchi. Then number two, I will support if we can do some changes, but only if they're going to work. Because you remember we have 2010 constitution, which came in with this devolution. And we are still fighting. We are still putting a lot of politics in between, left and right. And we have still not think. If you check, if I put it clear, if you check the salary of a member of county assembly, it's just a person who went there and being elected. It's more than a teacher who has been in class for the past 40, 50 years and retiring, earning 20,000 shillings per month or 30,000 shillings per month. If you look at the work that the teacher is doing, is much important than even what the ward rep is doing. If I'm not against the political line. But I'm not against the payment of the higher payment of politicians. But I'm against on how we govern, because if we do right governance with the constitution that we have today, then we can bring back the economy, which is now dying, to the level that everybody can actually get something to go back with in the evening. If you look on, I don't know the work of the role of a member of county assembly very well, What I know, we have councillors, and then we jump to county assembly, which now we have the ward reps.
Yes.
I still don't understand their role, because I only saw them going to conferences outside the country. They are fighting against who was not elected to be joining which conference. They are fighting who is going to be the speaker of county assembly. Their fights are just there. Who is not being appointed to be in which committee to get do we call it subsidy or allowance? You know, they're fighting against that. But I've never seen them standing and watching how the governor is doing their work.
But we have seen a number of governors being impeached and brought to the Senate.
But then what happened?
Not oversight.
But no, so if you look into that, you are going to fail, because those who are being impeached, somehow they're being impeached politically.
Okay.
Because they're not serving the interests of somebody again in the same government. So it has not be purely that this person is being impeached because it's under deliver. But most of them are being impeached because of the political alignment on who want who and who want who to in this position. So I don't think if even impeachment is their role. Their role is to oversight. If the money comes to my county, is it being oversighted well or proper? To know if it is this hospital, the money which was being given to this hospital, is it worth on what they send their proposal to? That is number one. When it comes to impeachment that you're talking about,
yes.
Recently there was a deputy governor who was impeached in Sierra County.
Yes.
Good thing we have a Sierra member here. He was impeached according to political things, and he was impeached of abuse of the office, the way I saw it. But when he came to the Senate, the opposition side, because when they were being elected by ODM.
Yes.
But those who supported him was now in the ruling party. It is not different when Governor Waiguru was being impeached. She was supported by opposition senators. So it is just a game that they are used to play. But what we are saying, because like me, I'm working in the community, we are going through a lot of challenges back in the community. What I'm just requesting our system of government to do is to come down to their understanding that this Kenya belongs to all of us. We are here with our children, we are expecting our grandchildren, and so and so and so, and new generation. Before we kill the devolution and we kill what we have, what are we leaving to the next generation who are coming tomorrow? If we go as per who elected who, because by the time, you know, the election is a political game. We may vie the same position with my brother here, but that does not mean that I don't want him. I want him. It's only that I want the similar position that he wants. We are like applying for the job. But if he wins or if I win, I don't need to go down there and think these people did not support me. So they are not worth to enjoy the fruit of our county because they are opposition. Opposition only comes because one of the candidates win the election. And by the time you're being elected to be a governor or to be a ward rep or to be a senator, you are not elected to represent those who voted you, but you elected to represent the people of Kenya, right? And to do what belongs to them, not to have your own political power and start pushing people to the ground. So my request to this our new governors, I think now we have good governors according to the way I see. We have good governors, and I feel they are going to do a lot of work. Before we change any bit of the constitution, because that will take us back to a very serious political battle, we better formalize what we have, put it in place, put it into work. And we are requesting for the national government, because we have the Senate, to set up a structure of how we can counter-check how they're using the money which is being given to the community down there. This money is not coming from heaven. This money is coming from the poor individuals in the communities there. That's why we call it now devolved function. I pay this money, it goes to the national government, then national government will send this money back to me on making my ways to be such easy. There's something that I don't want to forget, because I know the president is going there, all the opposition leaders are going there. There's something that now is affecting the whole country. And I don't want to forget about it, even if it is not in the same topic. The issue of getting to university now.
Yes.
The issue of registering to universities now. The fee is now more than what we were expecting. And the bursary that the national government is giving and the county government is giving is not enough to make somebody to take their children to the university. Now, I think even them, they will tell you, they have WhatsApp groups, not even maybe 200 in their phones, on how they fundraise to help those who are going to be admitted in the university. If this government is going to help us, this devolved function, can we have something for the university students? The reason why I'm bringing this, the same person who we are purporting to support down there through devolution to make road and to bring some medicine in the hospital, is the same parent who is now going through hell to take their children to university. And we have hope in education that when I take my children to school, and they will get job and they will come help me. So you'll find we have some parents who have already sold their lands when they are taking their children to primary and secondary level. Then with now, their children pass the exam and now going to university. Now it's another 170,000 or 150,000 that you have to pay before you start your semester. So this thing is killing even the will of the devolution down there, because you are working so hard, you are paying your taxes to make the money come to the central government and that money come back to the county so that you can use it. Then now you are stuck. So everybody's crying across. Even if you do 100 things, we drill boreholes, we build all the ECDs, we bring even porridge into the ECD, we bring even this new curriculum, the CBC. We're still doing nothing. If we cannot take the ones that we have struggled with to the university to get the proper job so that can come and help the devolution and the new constitution.
Let me come to Millie. Millie, given that this is now your area of expertise, when it comes to the impeachment process, we have seen governors coming out clearly stating that the threshold of the members of the county assembly should be increased so that they devoid of using political tactics to remove a county head from the office. Is this the only way to go, or what other legal proposals can the county governments as well as the members of the county assembly can look into so that that particular process that has been dubbed over the years an impeachment process can be ceased to be named that?
I think I'm one of the few Kenyans who's very happy with the impeachment process as it is, as far as county governments are concerned. And I say this because it has been tried and tested, right from the first devolved government to date. It has been tried and tested and improved over time. But I think that if there's some constitutional amendment that would be key, in my opinion, would be removal of the term limit for governors. For me, it really does not make sense why at that devolved level it confuses the thinking of wananchi, because we know that the only term limit that is again set is for the president. And I remember particularly, may his soul rest in peace, former President Kibaki was very keen to constantly remind governors that there's one Kenya. One Kenya. There may be 47 or 48 governments, but there's one Kenya. And it's important to ensure that even within our structure of laws, we do not give so much emphasis to the governors in as far as other aspects of national unity is concerned, because the focus was on devolved governance for purposes of service delivery. And I think that setting of term limits has not contributed to helping the structure.
So you want them to go for 5 years or 10 or more than 10 years?
Like MPs, like senators, so long as people are able to vote you in, you can come back. Because there's no point of it's not an affirmative action seat, it's not a presidential seat where you need to set term limits. So I think if we started by removing that, it would change the concept of people to understand that you need to perform in order for you to retain that seat and for you to be able to come back. I think that it is important then to strengthen the process at the Senate level, because we have seen sometimes MCAs being unhappy, and some of them have justifiable reasons. And I think that with the use of lawyers, they've been able to actually stipulate the shortfalls that the county governments have had. But when they come to the Senate, as my colleague, fellow panelist has said, you find that the politics of the day comes into play, so that it is about showing you that you will not remove your person if we can be able to marshal enough support. So it becomes about political power play, and it ceases being about service delivery and adherence to the will of the people. So that then that governance is being removed in a manner that is so justified. Remember, even Kibutha Kibwana wanted the county government dissolved, so that it is taken back to the...
Not just him, several governors
Yes,
wanted,
so that it is taken back to the national level, so that then at that time they will be able to deal with some of those frustrations, because you'll meet a different kind of frustration at the county level, but I think many governors have been able to deal with it, and I think that Governor Ngilu, former governor, was very good at that, and she could teach other governors how to deal with managing MCAs at that level. Then when it comes to the Senate level, there's a different kind of frustration in as far as the checks and balances are concerned. So if we can just strengthen, it may not necessarily need a constitutional amendment as far as that is concerned, to strengthen the impeachment process so that it is clarified better. And I think that the politics of the day has been improving in as far as the law is concerned. Look at political party disputes. They have now been clarified that they will not go to the Supreme Court. They end at the Court of Appeal. And this is by way of legislation, so that we reduce the process. We know that removal of MCAs is something that is still not clear. There are very many MCAs who sit there who have no understanding of what their role is. And it would be very good for us to be able to remove them, so that then the governor can have people who understand what the role of the MCA is, and people he can work with, and people who can hold him to account. Because when he delivers, it is good for the people, it is good for the governor, because the governor will then come back.
Thank you so much, Millie. Of course, when we come after this short commercial break, I'll also pick the brains of Churchill in regards to the County Government Act itself, the 2012 one. The last time the Council of Governors led by Anwar Guru spoke, they clearly stated that they'll have proposals to the County Government Act so that it can be changed. 10 years later, we are asking you, what development has devolution brought to your county and to your doorstep? Of course, our social media handles at KBC Channel 1, at Abdiaziz Hashim 1. That is the question we're asking you this particular morning. What development has devolution brought to your county? Hit us up on our social media platforms at KBC Channel 1, at Abdiaziz Hashim 1. After the end of the show, we'll be sampling a few. And of course, we're taking a short commercial break. Don't go too far. The conversation continues.
She hasn't just taken this title, she's absolutely obliterated the whole field. 352.96.
It's a big stage, big names and big expectations, an immersive celebration of athleticism. More than 2,000 athletes from over 200 countries will compete in 49 events. Drawing inspiration from past memorable outings, Team Kenya is looking ahead for a remarkable feat in the forthcoming World Athletics Championship in Budapest, Hungary, in Central Europe. Witness the wonders from Budapest, Hungary on 19th through to the 27th of August, live and exclusive on KBC Channel 1. KBC Channel 1, your true sports partner.
자리야. 1억.
저길 뭐 하는 거야? 설마 그새 애 딸린 이혼녀랑 결혼이라도 한 거야?
오늘부로 시작 좀 허가한다.
잔말 말고 빨랑 찾아내라. 급하니까.
설마 납치된 거예요?
얼른 찾기나 해.
Mimi ni Shamsa, mke wa Zito. Zito aliniambia kuwa hana mke, mimi sitaki kujua.
Kiza Jamal. Shamsa is my wife. Achana naye. Sawa.
Zito kufa kuzikana.
Zuri. Zuri umefanya Zuri.
Rastaman party, and Chalice in a Rastaman party. Malice we run and a roof we see.
I'm sorry, but I'm leaving you. You never should have made me cry. I'm sorry, but I'm leaving.
When a man love a woman and a woman love a man, and judge a blessing.
When I love you and you love me, another blessing.
Anytime you need a lover, call on me. I'll be waiting. Anytime you need a lover, call.
Welcome back and thank you for staying with us. If you're just joining us, it's all about the devolution conference that is currently held in Eldoret, Uasin Gishu County. The City of Champions will be playing host to over 10,000 delegates drawn within and without our borders in terms of devolution. 10 years later, what has been the benefits and what has been the misgivings of the devolution system itself? That is our conversation, and that's where we're asking you what development has devolution brought to your county. That is our question of the day. Let me get to reintroduce my guest this particular morning. If you're just joining us, I do have Dr. Churchill Saoke, a governance expert. We have Millie Luanga, a lawyer and a governance expert. And finally, Newton. We have Newton Ogada, a political analyst. But before we went on a short commercial break, I want to come to Dr. Churchill. Not just the Constitution itself, Churchill. They were also talking about the County Government Act. The last time the Council of Governors, led by Anwe Guru, the Kirinyaga governor, spoke, they clearly stated that they will have proposals to make changes to the County Government Act. So we were talking about increasing the threshold of the impeachment process, maybe what Millie was suggesting in terms of the term limits. Do you think those are some of the key changes they are looking at?
I'm sure that at a political level they'll be very keen on trying to make the impeachment a little more stringent. But I would advise that they need to look at much more detail as they make some of those proposals into the act, because there are a lot of things that the Act provided for, especially on how the county governments are supposed to be run. And, you know, with the 10 years, they need just to interrogate how effective this has been. Like, for example, how effective has the County Service Board been in terms of service delivery? Now, how does it mirror its performance compared to the Public Service Commission at the national level? So the efficiencies of some of the provisions that were brought by the Act, maybe they need to interrogate it beyond just the political aspects of impeachment, and, you know, because I'm sure that is one of the things that is going to crowd is going to crowd those proposals. You know, the governors have hugely been affected. You know, things to do with even establishing you know, newer revenue streams. These has been a lot of discussions. You know, could there be some uniform mechanisms that can be adopted through an act of parliament that could help them to regenerate, diversify their income sources that could then be adopted at the national level, and it becomes uniform across all the counties. So those are provisions that I think that could be looked at. They do not necessarily need a constitution amendment, but at the enactment of the act level, they need to look at it. So beyond the politics, they should look at the details of the operations of the counties and enact, other things would relate to structures of development. There were creations of the village administrators. How effective are they? How empowered are they in terms of helping to deliver devolution at the counties, or are they just representatives of the governor that they help the governors to, whenever the governor wants to go somewhere, they prepare the ground. Are they efficient in bringing efficiency into the devolved unit? So I think a much more comprehensive look into the framework of devolution and looking at those details will be very key, and I think that it will be a good idea for the county heads to look and review beyond the optics of the politics of impeachment.
Okay.
Yeah.
But from where you sit, do you think there is that political goodwill when it comes to implementing some of these key recommendations that you're making?
I think there is, because you see, politicians look at their interests. They will look at their interests, and if the interests are well factored in, and I think it's about some of these bills, sometimes you might not talk about political will, but how well is some of these proposals balancing the interests of the various players? And if the interests are well balanced, then the political will automatically come. So you will expect certain opposition from some of the quarters, but I think that the political will exists. And it's now about how the governors will be able to pick up and balance up the interest groups to come up with proposals that will make them operate more efficiently. Yeah.
If I may just add on to that, I think that when we talk about the political will to do certain things, one of the things that has excited me about the current government is that they have tried to ensure that the monies that are meant to go to the counties actually go to the counties and go on time. That is a positive indicator. So I think that some of the struggles that we've had in trying to ensure that county governments are strengthened to be able to work should actually be anchored on the current existing political goodwill to try and ensure that more resources, more services are brought to the ground. Look at something like education. You can't have only ECD at the county government level with CBC, system of education, where there's need to have a lot of support. We've seen county governments, even constituencies, mainly constituencies, setting up Wi-Fi hotspots because people need them for the CBC learning effort. So if we expanded some of devolution of education levels to the county level and expanded the resources that we take there, we may be able to realize a better CBC system of education.
Maybe to Newton, let me pose you this question. There's a comment from one of our viewers called Josh asking, do you think the Office of the Auditor General as well as the Controller of Budget has done enough to ensure that corruption is curbed at the devolved units?
No. The answer is no. The way they're dealing with the corruption issues, I can give them 0%, because the corruption issues only lands or lean on who you are. If somebody steals a chicken, that person will be taken to court and will be jailed immediately after 2 weeks. But somebody who is messed up with the government money, I've never seen them in court and being taken to jail. So I think the corruption is devolved. It's from the national government to the county government. The way they devolve the function, they devolve the corruption in it. Look at this. We are talking about the development that has been brought down by the devolution, the county government. We talked about education, ACD, CBC, health. One of us talked about health. The doctors wanted to go back to national government or the nurses, which is true. But why? we are down there waiting for there's this scheme, this NHIF scheme. It is now the biggest scheme we have in this country.
Yes.
And I want to congratulate our people because many people are now getting involved to get them covered with their children and their family. But when it comes to paying back the hospitals their money, to manage the hospital,
yes,
buy medicine, pay those who are supplying the medicine, paying those who are supplying the lab equipment, then the money is not there. You know, you cannot take this away from the devolved government and the national government because this thing is devolved. And the body which is controlling this scheme is national government, if I'm not wrong.
Yeah.
So they are managing it, but when you come back to the hospital, you're not getting what you need to treat your client who already has paid. The problem is not for those who are members. The problem is the place where the money is going. But I hope our president and the management of those boards or those bodies will do something because we can say everything, but health is very important to us. You cannot go to school if you're not
healthy.
You cannot go to your farm if you're not healthy. But you work hard and paying. And you remember recently, I think it was 3-4 days ago in Eldoret, there was a problem with the parents who collected their money to take their children abroad. And it's again coming into a system of county government. I think everybody watched that thing. And I heard a woman say that if they cannot solve our problem now, even that conference will not allow it to be here.
Okay.
Right? I saw it in the social media.
Yes.
So the person managing this corruption issue, my friend, is not doing something that we can discuss.
Okay.
It should be taken away and bring somebody else who can manage it proper. And there was a day that this guy speak big English. It's called this Luo guy, the lawyer. Lumumba.
Yes.
There was a time that he was working in the integrity office here. He was calling this politician every now and then. And that's why he was removed, because he was putting people on check.
Okay.
And he was removed within a year. He was not there. And that office has never worked. So I'm just saying we need to do something better on that. We need to improve.
Okay.
And again, the president or the management of that body should think of how they can beautify it.
Okay.
To enable our system to work.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. I'll be picking your brains once more in terms of the devolution conference that, of course, will be carrying on for the next 4 days or so. I do understand that we do have our reporter Junei in the coastal city of Mombasa. Junei, given that we're touching base with you right now, what is the mood like for devolution?
Good morning. It's a rainy day here in Mombasa County. However, business is going on as usual. Just to pick it up from the conversation that is going on in studio, to put it to perspective, Mombasa County, the governor was sworn in a bit later than the rest of the country. He was sworn in a bit late, and also in his choice of setting up a cabinet to help him dispense his duties here in Mombasa County. He rather took a very hesitant approach and appointed them. They have been 4 months in office right now. So most of the duties that they have been performing has been either been induction or planning for the next financial year, what they will be doing. Yesterday we were with the county executive member for sports, and he was laying down plans that they are intending to undertake for the next financial year, meaning most of the county executive members are yet to set in motion most of the plans that they have been doing, putting into perspective that the budget for this financial year was just approved the previous month. Also, the chief officers who are supposed to be helping this DCCM, some of them are yet to also come into office. They are yet to be passed by the county assembly. So in Mombasa, it is a bit of a slow not saying that things are not moving. Things are moving here in Mombasa. However, it is not upon me. Let me just rope in some of the residents of Mombasa to give their expectations or give their analysis. As ever since Abdul Swamad Sharif Nasir came into office, is devolution working for them? And not only here in Mombasa, but a perspective of the whole country. What is their take and what are some of the recommendations that they can put forth, even as the member of county assemblies as well as governors converge tomorrow at Eldoret for the devolution conference. Acha nianze na wewe, tuambia tusimama tu kidogo, tuambie unaitwa nani na maoni yako siku ya leo.
My name is Abuto Junior. Kwa maoni yangu about the devolution is working, but the problem that we have in devolution, there is a very big corruption in devolution, from the top to down. So what it can done ni tuongea kwamba kama wale wanahusika na hiyo mambo, wao wanachukuliwa hatua. Hiyo kitu inaweza fanya, because it's through the devolution tumeanza kuona kama barabara tu mitaani tumewekwa kapro. Tumeona mambo mengi, lakini ile pesa nyingi ni ile inaingia katika mifukoni ya watu, yani ya wale wakubwa. Sasa hiyo wakisima hiyo itakuwa ni nzuri. The other thing ni kwamba katika nchi ya Kenya bali tuko, mimi ningeomba kama kutawezekana, because kwa hizi county ni nyingi sana. If it's possible, counties zingine ziwe merge together, itakuwa ni vizuri kwa sababu tutaokoa pesa nyingi. Because there are some counties which they cannot be able to feed their counties. Yani wanapebwa na counties zingine. Sasa county kama zile haziwezi, sinaweza kuwekwa pamoja, ndio sasa ule mzigo umepepeswa wa Kenya ufungue one. Manake katika hizo county sina maofisi, sina magari, sina kila kitu. Lakini ni kwamba asiproduce anything. Secondly, ni kwamba kuangaliwa ya kwamba wale watu wanaajiriwa huko, manake wengi wanaajiriwa na misingi ya kisiasa, wanaajiriwa na misingi ya kwamba wewe ni wetu, ama wewe ni ukwetu, ama watu wengine wanachukua mpaka matenda. Yani hizo vyote vinapewa mkoa moja, ya kwamba hizo vitu vikiangaliwa na serikali itaweza kufanya kitu. Na tungeomba hawa watu wa mangavana, itakuwa ni vizuri sana tuone wakati mtu amemaliza utamu wake, ya kwamba akienda kufanywa auditing, ya kwamba kama kuna corruption ambaye amefanya, ule mtu tumesikia amefungwa, na si kufungwa tu, ile mali ya serikali ameiba ikaweza kuchukuliwa. Sasa hiyo ndio itakuwa nini? Ndio itakuwa funzo, ndio tutaona devolution ikifanya kazi. Landele ni kwamba katika ile inaitwa public participation, ya kwamba hiyo haifanywi na njia ya maana, kwa sababu mtu anaenda anachukua watu wake wale ambao wanajua atampigia makofi, kila kitu akisema atasema ndio, watapiga kelele. Hiyo haifanywi na njia inafaa. So tungeomba what we call the public participation iwe ya kwamba iwe ni njia ambayo iko wazi, kwa sababu most of the governors that what they do, wafuasi wake wale walimfanya akaweze kwenda pale, ndio na wawita, kwa sababu atauliza maswali na watasema vitu kama hiyo. Kitu kingine ni kwamba hizi barabara wanatengeneza, manake zile feeder roads sinapewa tenda na sinapewa pesa nyingi sana. Ukiangalia barabara bila imetengenezwa haifai. Tuseme barabara zingine kama ni barabara tuseme kama ni ya Msomoroni, yani tule tufinda road. Tule tufinda road tukiwekwa kabro, badala tuwekwe mawe, tuwekwe kokoto, tunawekwa mzanga. So ni kumaanisha within a year ile kazi yote imefanyika imekuwa ni out, kwa sababu pesa imetumika na ionekani. Alafu tena ni mambo ya Mombasa, Mombasa kitu ambayo inaleta shida hapa Mombasa ni drainage na mambo ya sewages. Just imagine Mombasa utakuta takataka imejaa huku, yani hizo drainage asifanyiwi kazi, especially kama saa hii kumenyesha. Hata mtu akiangalia utakuta kuna ile maji ya choo inatabaki kila barabarani. So hizo vitu siangaliwe. Kwa sofa gavana anajaribu. Kitu kingine ninaongea na kiangaliwe ni mambo ya collection of revenue. Kama Mombasa wasukue njia nyingine, si watu hao wakizunguka huku wakisukua pesa na maliziti. Hata kama ni oka waweko kwa mtandao, mtu alipe pesa kwa mtandao, kwa sababu hiyo pesa imelipwa itaingia direct. Lakini pesa ya kuandikiwa na kaliziti, mtu ameenda ametengeneza riziti zake kule, hiyo ni kumaanisha pesa igii. So watengeneze njia ambayo inaweza hiyo pesa iko ina transparency. Isiwe hata nduru hata moja. So ikiwa hivyo hata tutakuwa ya kwamba kaunti kama ya Mombasa na ina njia nyingi sana ya kuokota pesa. Haiwezi hata haistahili hata ipewe pesa kutoka from the national government because Mombasa kuna pesa nyingi sana, lakini zile nyingi zinaingia mifukoni. Tuangalie soko kama ya Kongoya, tuangalie how much money is supposed to bring every day, na ni pesa ile, lakini pesa hiyo ingine pengine governor na watu wako, MC na watu wake, MP na watu wake, na ni kama yani tuletee hiki kiwango every day, tuletee kiwango. Ile pesa inaingia katika government, national government inakuwa ni kidogo, alafu anasema ya kwamba government national government haileti pesa, na wenyewe ndio wanafaa kupeleka hiyo pesa national government ndio iweze kunja kwa nini kwa county.
Unasema kwamba ufisadi umekithiri sana katika kaunti, na pia tena umeona kwamba kuna kaunti ya Kakamega, sasa hivi jana ulikuwa na kaunti ya Meru ambayo magavana waliweza kuhujumiwa na mashtaka ya kuwa wameweza kuiba pesa ambazo ni za umma. Je, kwenda mbele ile taratibu ambao uko wa kumuondoa gavana ama kuona kwamba wale ambao wameweza kuiba haya mapeni kutoka kwa county, wewe kama wewe umeridhika nao ama uweze kufanya mabadiliko ili kuona kwamba kila baada ya siku hamuongelelei jambo moja na kuna kitu ambacho kinaweza kufanyika?
Shida ni moja, ule gavana ile njia kumuondoa inakuwa ngumu. Tena akipelekwa kotini kesi inakuwa ni kama imetubuliwa mbali. Sasa kitu ambaye kitaokoa devolution ni kwamba kuwe set a very good example. Tusikie gavana moja awe ni nani ama ni nani amefungwa na mali yake imechukuliwa, na tena iwe ya kwamba mimi ninasema kama inawezekana, ikiwezekana hata watoto wa watoto wake wasije hata siku moja watakayosimama katika kiti ya serikali, kwa sababu hiyo ni misisi iko katika watoto, na hiyo inaibiwa pesa wanafanya. Maana hiyo pesa ikibiwa watoto ndio wanakula. Ikiwezekana kuwekwa mikakati ya kwamba gavana akisikitana ana shida, mwanzo awe set aside kabisa, asiwe yani kesi ikiendelea asiwe ako kwa kiti.
Maoni yako, acha nipate maoni tu ya mzee. Niambie unaitwa nani? Alafu maoni yako tu ni gani?
Mimi kwa machina naitwa Charles, na pengine ningezungumzia maneno mawili matatu kwa sababu mwenzangu amezungumza mambo mengi kuhusu counties. Kitu ya kwanza nataka kwa general, kwa sababu ukiangalia katika services especially countrywide, vile madaktari wanakuwa treated katika mahospitali za counties because health imekuwa developed, na unakuwa hata kwamba madaktari jinsi wanakuwa treated kama vibarua. Kwa mfano wakati previous governor alikuwa hapa Mombasa, wale madaktari wote walikuwa under contract na wote wanadai mpaka saa hii, na wengi walihama wakaenda kaunti zingine kama Kwale na zingine, zile pesa zao bado hawachalipwa. Kwa hivyo saa hii mtoto akienda shuleni kama anataka kuwa daktari inakuwa kama haina maana, kwa sababu hiyo jina daktari limekuwa diminished, ni kama halina maana. Kwa hivyo ningeonelea kwamba walimu, madaktari watafutiwe njia, ama wale watu wanafanya katika mahospitali, hiyo ni nurses, medical officers, wote watafutiwe njia na commission yao kama Teachers Service Commission, ili pesa zao siwe zinatoka mahali pamoja na mshahara wao uwe umetoka mahali pamoja, because naona kama hao madaktari wamekuwa yani wamewekwa chini, mpaka hata ukimwona wengine wamekuwa kama watu wako street wanaoma, na ni watu wamechukua muda mrefu kusoma na haina maana kabisa.
Kwa sababu ya muda, wacha tu nikuulize swali. Kuanzia Gavana Abdulswamad Sharif Nassir aweze kuapishwa mpaka sasa, hatuwezi kumlaumu kwa makosa yaliyekuwa ama mazuri yaliyekuwa, lakini kufikia sasa, wewe kama wewe, ugatuzi umeweza kuona manufaa yake ama bado unaona wazidi kujikakamua?
Nikizungumzia kuhusu Mombasa County, tangu Nassir aingie tumeona mabadiliko kidogo, kwa sababu ukiangalia amestrengthen zile rules zilikuweko za revenue collection, unakuta kama zile roadblocks, bridges, wing bridge zile vile zilikuwa zina collect. Ukiangalia sasa hivi zina collect almost 3 times what they used to collect previously. Kwa hivyo ukimwangalia amejaribu. Na hata vile ukiangalia huu mji wa Mombasa ulikuwa na takataka mingi sana. Lakini siku hizi unaona zile magari zina move in and out. Kwa hivyo nitampa hongera kidogo, lakini nasema afanye bidii, afanye zaidi vile amefanya, kwa sababu ule muda amefanya ni kidogo, hatuwezi mchache. Lakini kufikia vile ako sahihi, kuna matumaini ya Mombasa kurudi katika zile nchi zake za zamani.
Pendekezo lako la mwisho wakati magavana na ma-MC watakaokutana kesho, devolution conference itakayoanza kesho?
Mimi ningewashauri kwamba kila sehemu ya Kenya ina things ambayo ni priority. Kwa mfano tukiangalia semi-arid counties like Garissa, Mandera, Turkana, Samburu and the like, the priority ni maji. Ukiona the previous governors wale wako huko, ukiangalia hakuna kisima cha maji wamechimba wala nini. Sasa unakuta kwamba kila kiangazi kija watu wanalia. Ambapo pale priority ni kuchukua zile pesa, at least wachimbe visima, tuone kazi inaendelea. Kwa hivyo vile wanavyoketi, tusione kama ule gavana wa Samburu alichukua pesa nyingi akaenda kuchenga Karen. Wawe ni watu ambao wanajali wale wananchi ambao wamewachagulia, na zile priority zikiwa pale. Tukienda kama Western, pia ningeenda ni washauri wale magavana kutoka Western. Ukiangalia mambo ya sugar cane plantation ama ulimaji wa miwa, haujafaidi wale watu wanatoka hizo maeneo za Western na Nyanza. Unaangalia kwamba kila mwaka kuna issues, either walipu, either factories merara. Ukiangalia ukikombea kitu kama chai unaona watu wanalipwa kila mwezi and then they are bonus. Lakini ukiangalia wale magavana wakula hakuna kitu wanaongelea kuhusu ulimaji wa miwa ambao ni shida kubwa sana. Kwa hivyo ningeomba wale magavana wana ketitis kule Eldoret waangalie majukumu na waangalie priorities in different counties yatokea.
Maoni mazuri sana. We were speaking to the residents of Mombasa. You have heard that corruption is one of something that is still aching the residents. The collection of revenue is very important. For example, the governor of Mombasa had started a Mombasa Yangu program, a program that employs the youth, unemployed youth, as casual laborers. However, it is dependent on the collection of revenue that is being collected here in Mombasa County, and also blurring the loopholes that are existing in the system when it comes to corruption. So those are the sentiments of the residents, of course, as we the devolution conference that is expected to kick off tomorrow in Eldoret. From Mombasa County, I'm Juni Karisa. Back to Abdiaziz in studio.
Thank you so much, Juni, giving us an update, of course, from the residents of Mombasa County in relation to the devolution conference that will be carried out in Eldoret, Uasin Gishu County. And of course, those residents have clearly stipulated some key issues we had even earlier expounded on our show. That's why I want to take it to Churchill. Maybe, Churchill, there's one resident who has clearly even given a solution. We have seen the national government digitizing every services to ensure that those monies that are going to people's pockets are curtailed. And of course, in terms of the even M-Pesa pay bill, the president even directed that all pay bills should be shut down. The only one that is supposed to be up and running, it is the National Treasury, and given that they're the ones who collect the money. Do you think that the county government should also do the same?
Absolutely, and I mean that is. I was excited when I was just listening to the two gentlemen talking and giving their views on devolution. I mean, we are getting into an era of technology, and we cannot oversee or we cannot overlook the significance of technology as an enabler of development and its role in bringing efficiency in service delivery at the county level. I think that will be one very progressive thing that, I mean, some of the counties have already adopted some of these digital platforms of paying for services, but of course there has been a lot of interest around it where you find some, you know, codes being introduced that divert funds to specific accounts or that belong to some big boys within the counties. So the role of technology in bringing this efficiency and it being used well in a manner that can be well accounted for is something that is highly welcome, because in the long run we are now getting even into an era where you see the current regime has been very progressive in trying to bring access to internet services even to the local communities, and so it means that the next dispensation of governance is going to be on your phone, on your computer, and even the grandmother in the villages will be able to access even key government officials on something as simple as your smartphone. Or if you can't access the smartphone, maybe your nephew or your grandchild or your son or daughter will be able to help you do it. So the more efficient even the devolved units make these services more closer to the people, the better. And technology will be very key. Issues around digitalization of health services. What models are we bringing as in the next, you know, for governors or the devolved units? What models of digital healthcare are we bringing that can bring health services to closer to our people? Does someone who is sick need to wait for an ambulance to go to the hospital for something that will be as easy as getting a consultancy through the phone? So this is the kind of things that maybe will be able to even help the counties bring much more services much more closer to the people using existing technologies. Yeah.
Maybe to Millie, not just the digitizing of services within the devolved units, but the issue of blaming the electorate themselves. A portion of the blame is to us, given that we have already elected those leaders and they're in office. Do you think, would you call it an illiteracy that we don't know that we can call these leaders, ask them, this was your memorandum, why did you not attain this in the first 6 months that you are in office? Is it a blame to us, the electorate ourselves?
Big time.
Yes.
Big time. And I say this because I'm amazed. Kenya is one of the countries in the region that has got a large number or a large percentage of people who are educated. In Kenya, to find somebody who has not had basic education is difficult. And people are going to school every day until even masomo ya gumbaru, you know, has become the laughing stock. That nowadays all adults are back to school. Everybody is going to school, and yet they don't want to read. They don't want to learn about what this devolved government is.
Yes.
Everybody is talking about participation. There's been no participation. BBI was thrown out because the courts told us that the participation, there was problems with the participation, problems with the processes, you know? And the discussion around the country on what participation is has been key. But do we participate? You will find, as that gentleman said, that people are invited to a forum, but our interest is fair. How much transport is being given for that meeting? And then have you signed and put your ID number there so that you're sure you will be able to shout very loudly and say, my ID was taken and I've not been given my transport, you know? We don't listen, we don't participate, and yet even the budgeting process has been legislated in a manner that our participation is so key. Governors should not surprise us. MPs should not surprise us with the projects that they bring. The budget reading process is not stopped being a big mistake the way it used to be in the four days. So if we participated and ensured that the people we put in governance were doing what we expect them to do, then I think we would be a happier people. But we put them in place and then we say, well, we have put our son there, we've put our daughter there, let them eat money for a few years, even them it is their turn to eat.
Our turn to eat.
And then we go back and complain about the inadequacies of the government. So I think it is true that we have a large part to blame, and we also expect that if we resourced IEBC adequately, they would be able to continuously have civic education so that more of us would understand what these roles are.
Besides IEBC, Newton, who else should create this public awareness in terms of what a county governor ought to do, a senator and a member of the county assembly?
As my colleagues has just spoken, the problem that we have is the participation. We have not been given chance to participate. It's not that our people are not aware or sure on what should be done. We have many people, as my sister said, in Kenya we are doing good on education.
Yes.
Most of our people, we have basic education. But the problem is the leadership. They don't give us a mandate to supervise what they're doing.
Yes.
But they come with their goons to protect them for the people, not to supervise what they're doing. If you try to supervise them, the following day you will be in the hospital or dead, going to the grave. The body that needs to support us is an independent body that must be constituted by the same government, so that we can as well be protected in a way and in a manner that we understand what is going to be done in my ward, in my constituency, and in my country. Now, as we speak, all the ways are leading to Eldoret.
Yes.
And everybody is happy that we are going for the
devolution conference.
The conference. But nobody knows what we are going to discuss there, or what is going to be discussed. We have been seeing people going every year. But we have never even known why are we going there. Like when I listen to those who are talking in Mombasa, those people has the correct idea to tell or to sell to the people who are in the government or those who are being elected. But they cannot reach them.
Okay.
If you have an agenda and a clear mind of how you want things to be done, you will never reach to these people. You will be blocked. You will be kicked out.
Okay.
All the youths will throw you out.
Okay.
Not knowing that the agenda that you're bringing in is the best to be done.
Okay.
So we need to change, as we have been discussing. If we want to end somewhere with this devolution, we need to understand its role and why somebody is being elected. And I'm just pledging that let us not appoint, but we need election.
Okay.
You know what we are using now is not even election.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. Unfortunately, you are running out of time. Let me just give you each 30 seconds, please. Given that you're running out of time, let me start with you, Churchill. Your final remarks in terms of the devolution conference.
I think I am a strong believer in devolution. Let's continue to work all together, all stakeholders are involved to strengthen devolution, because this is the way that our democracy should move, especially in terms of building a framework that will bring services to our people, and also our people appreciating even our sense of nationhood as a country.
Thank you so much. Millie?
Devolution is a good thing. It is a really good thing. Let us participate. Let us ask questions. Let us expect answers from the people who are participating in the conference, so that they tell us how they're going to ensure that devolution addresses our needs.
Okay. And finally, Newton?
I think I'm a strong believer on 2010 Constitution, which brought in the devolution. What I'm just asking is to implement it and be strong enough to identify the real things that we need to make devolution to succeed. And I believe if we go that way, we are heading somewhere and we will have the best country ever.
Thank you so much. That is Newton Ogada, political analyst. To his right is Millie Luanga, lawyer and a governance expert. And finally, Dr. Churchill Saoke, a governance expert. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for making time for us on NewsCheck. Unfortunately, that is where we draw the curtain on this particular devolution conference panel that we have had this discussion. And of course, just to sample, allow me, producer, just to sample one comment from Facebook from Paul Jr. He's saying that devolution has given us an autonomy to manage resources at the county level, and it has also promoted democratic exercise of power. And of course, carry on the conversation both on and offline, given that devolution services are meant to be brought to your doorstep. That was the ideology behind devolution itself. The conference will carry on from the 15th to the 19th, and of course our team are on the ground in Eldoret, Uasin Gishu County, to bring you the latest from their respective end. And of course, my name is Abdiaziz. Hashim, don't go too far. Nancy Okore is up next with Kurunzi Mashinani. Good afternoon for now.
오늘부로 시작 좀 허가한다.
잔말 말고 빨랑 찾아내라. 급하니까.
설마 납치된 거예요?
얼른 찾기나 해.
Anafaa kuwa hapa ndani, anafaa kuwa kwa hospitali.